Good morning, welcome to beginner intermediate Pilates, but this is for all levels. You can take it to whatever level feels good for you. And we're going to work with three-dimensional movement. So to have a healthy spine, we want to move the spine in all its directions, which is flexion or rounding, extension or lengthening, rotation, and side bending. Okay, so we're going to play in all our traditional movements, how we can play with some more three-dimensional positions. Okay, so we're going to start on all fours, really simple, and just get yourself kind of comfy. If you need some cushions underneath your knees, I'm just gonna, okay, and as we've talked about in the last few weeks, our weight-bearing position, let's spread the hands, make sure the first finger is on the floor. Can everyone hear me okay? Give me a thumbs up. Okay. And then having that little elbow pit gently facing forward. Now I want you to start with just flexing the spine and kind of thinking in just one big movement, okay? So rounding the spine, and then I want you to extend the spine, letting the head go forward. So we're extending the back of the neck, the mid-back and the low back. Just try and make sure you're not just hanging the belly when you do that, okay? So rounding the spine, flexing. I'm almost thinking of the middle of me going up, and then without completely dropping the belly, coming into extension. Now I want to articulate that a little bit more. So I want you to start at the very base of your spine, work up through the low back, rounding each little segment, coming through the mid-back, through the upper back, and then into the head. And then I'm going to do the reverse. Start at the tail, slowly going through the spine, and I'm actually thinking of the front of the spine opening out. So the discs kind of showing their face down to the mat, all the way up. And I want to feel a little bit more even in the spine now. Okay, so go again, articulating. So tail down, sit bones down, and I'm kind of opening up the discs so they shine towards the ceiling. Okay, even through the back of the neck. And then I want to, as the tail goes up and the sit bones open, I want to think of the front of the spine opening out so the discs are shining towards the mat and towards the front of the room. And then just come back to neutral, and I want you to feel like your kind of spine is like a little snake slithering. So I'm going to start the movement at my tail and my sacrum and see if I can lightly start to ripple that movement up into my upper back, and my shoulders are just gliding on my back and into the head. So think of those little wooden snakes that when you hold them on the end of the tail, you can actually keep them in line and you can let them ripple. Hopefully you know what I mean by that. And you can feel the ripple going all the way up the spine. So that's what I want you to feel. Not a kind of a side bending, but a little soft undulation. Okay, so it's like a little S movement going all the way up the spine. And then we're going to go into a little look at your tail. So a little side bend to the left and a side bend to the right. So I'm kind of looking around to look at my tail, and my waist is shortening on the one side and then shortening on the other side. Now try to maintain neutral with the other curve. So I don't want you to be bending side to side in hyperextension. I want you to try and be as neutral as you can. So just looking one more to each side. And then just come off your wrists for a second, have a little shake out. So maybe notice what side as you did that was feeling maybe a little bit tighter. Okay, so the last one is rotation. We've done this before, so we're going to take our right hand, slide it through, coming into a little rotation. Now I want you to make sure that the rotation is in your upper trunk, okay? So we're not just reaching the arm, we're rotating, and then you're going to grab your rib cage here, guide it around, and then you're going to bring the elbow by your side and unfold the arm. And then come back. So there's three parts. There's actually four parts. That's one. The second one is just moving the trunk away from the arm. So I'm kind of rotating here. The third one is the elbow up by my side. And the fourth one, without moving the pelvis, is opening the arm. Now you can see that my arm doesn't necessarily go to the ceiling. Okay? One more time. Rotate. Grab the ribs. So I want to make sure that my initiation of the movement is in my trunk. Then I bring the elbow up by my side. Okay? And then I open the chest and open the arm. And you'll see that last part a little bit more when I go the other side. Okay? So thread the needle through. Grab the rib cage, lengthen out, make sure you're neutral. I'm turning gently the trunk. Then I'm bringing the elbow by the side so I can open my shoulder. And then I'm going to open across the pecs and reach away from the floor. And I'm slightly pushing into this hand, but not aggressively into my elbow. And then come back, thread the needle through, rotating the trunk. Grab the rib. Here I'm in neutral, okay? So I don't want to be grabbing my ribs and turning with my spine flexed. I want to be nice and neutral. Elbow goes by the side. So I'm still looking down there trying to rotate here. And then I open the chest, okay? And I don't want you to be leaning into your hips and just trying to fling that arm to the sky. One more time. So these are just warm-ups for our spine movement. Elbow and open the chest. And then release. Good. So let's come down to the floor and we'll do our 3D movement with our pelvis that we already know really well, which is our pelvic clocks. So just lengthen yourself along the mat, have a good little wiggle, get your shoulder blades nice and comfy. Get your head ready, your feet in line with your sitting bones. And just taking a few breaths to just calm your body. If you saw my little post yesterday or this morning about breathing, I think it's really important that we take time to breathe, especially now as it's feeling really stressed and there's so much information being poured into our brains. And we've got to siphon it out and decide what works for us, what serves us well, and what doesn't serve us well. Okay, and we've got to filter out the stuff that doesn't serve us. If watching the news is making you stressed, then don't watch the news, okay? Or take one little portion of it that serves you and then cut it aside. So let's just close our eyes. And take some nice, slow, deep breaths. I want you to see if you can breathe in for a count of 4. So in, 2, 3, 4, and out for 4, 3, 2, 1. So really filling those lungs, filling those ribs, melting the ribs down, softening them, not forcefully pressing, because that's going to create tension, but I'm just letting them melt down and in. So inhale, wide, expanding, belly breathing, deflating, melting. Just start to bring your breath to your pelvis. See if you can feel that you're widening your pelvis as you breathe in and narrowing your pelvis as you breathe out. So you're filling as if the halves of the pelvis are stretching apart and narrowing back in. And then with that, we're going to inhale and roll down the pelvis, stretching the front body, and exhale, hollowing the front and melting the sacrum, cradling it into the floor. So inhale, breathing down the body, rolling the pelvis down, feeling the response of the head. Exhale,
if you find that you're working the back of the legs, maybe lighten it. See if you can really communicate to the movement in your pelvis, that rolling action. Maybe a little bit of pulling on your feet will help, so the feet kind of pulling to your seat. Exhale, roll back. So really get that nice, beautiful quality. One more time. So this is our flexion extension, like our cat stretch. We're just isolating the pelvis. And then come back to center. Okay, so let's do our rotation. So one side heavy, one side light, one half of the pelvis going up towards the sky. Inhale back down. Exhale the other side. I'm still trying not to push and squeeze with muscles. I'm trying to really let one half rotate towards the mat, one half rotates towards the sky. So it's like we're walking, okay? We've got one leg slightly forward, one leg slightly back. So that's why if your legs are doing a more upward, downward movement, that is correct. If they're doing more of a side-to-side movement, then we're working a little bit too much of the spine. So here we're just working the rotation of the pelvis. Okay, so our 3 and 9, our east and west. So you can feel a little push into the feet. So the one foot that pushes gently, that's the leg that's going to go more up. That's the half of the pelvis that's going to go more up. Okay, and it's a very subtle push. I'm not pushing to activate muscles. It's almost like I'm drawing down into the floor. Okay, let's do our circles. So rolling around the clock, swirling your marble, rolling around all the numbers, trying to feel the back surface of the pelvis, really making an imprint on the mat. But again, it's not really forceful. I'm not trying to shove and force it there. I'm trying to see how much movement I have with minimal effort. I definitely am using my feet a little bit to help guide my pelvis around. A little bit of a pull, a little bit of push into this side, a little bit of push of both feet away, then I'm pushing a little bit through this side. So I'm allowing my feet to circle. Let's go the other way. And just feeling how the rest of your body is responding. Your head is moving. I'm trying not to hold tension in my head. Just trying to let it roll around if it feels like it wants to. Lovely. And then come back to center and just kind of feel where that pelvis is. Now we've done this a little bit before with our little leg arcs. So I'm going to take one leg and just start to arc it in the socket. So I'm rolling the ball of my leg in my hip. Okay? So now this is flexion and extension of my leg bone. Okay? We talk about spine doing three-dimensional movements, but so do some of our joints. Okay? Depending on what the joint is, some joints are more ball and socket, so they do more movements. Something like the knee only does a hinge. Okay? So we want to use that and make sure that we're getting all the movements in there. Okay? So that's our flexion extension. Just kind of feel the ease of that. Now I want you to rotate the leg outwards and rotate the leg inwards to bring it back up. Okay, so I'm turning, alternating sides, trying not to let my opposite side pelvis come off the ground, and then I'm rotating the femur inwards. So this is external rotation. So my femur spirals outwards, and internal rotation as it comes up. And out, and back in. Okay, so that's really important that we feel the difference between rotating the leg and just opening the knees. Okay, one more time on the other leg, rotating, keeping the pelvis stable, and come back. Now I want you to rotate the leg while it's in the air. So external rotation, internal. Internal might not be that big, especially for me it's not. So external rotation, my foot is rotating towards my opposite side, and then my leg is rotating so the foot is going towards my same side shoulder. So foot to the opposite shoulder and foot to the same side shoulder. Good, do the same on the other side. So external rotation, internal. And just notice, we've done this before, how sticky it is in the hip. Okay, is it able to rotate outwards quite easily and not inwards like me? Or does it do the opposite? Don't let it pinch, don't force it, just feel. You could actually even just gently manipulate your leg so that you're guiding it into that position. Okay, so let's go into both legs tabletop. Make sure you're on the sacrum. Okay, so our tabletop position that we normally do is this little femur arc. Okay, so we've got one leg flexing, one leg extending, and this is great for deep abdominals. So this is really making me have to stabilize my pelvis against the movement of the legs. Okay, so now I want you to do a little bit of internal and external. So I'm swiveling the legs there and there. So now they're working together to swivel. Okay? So I'm doing kind of an internal and an external. Now I want you to do a little circle. Don't go too far because I don't want your tail dropping. Okay, if you want to just massage it in your hips first and do a little circle, that's great. Okay, so I'm letting the leg bone kind of go deeper into my hip. So this is circumduction. This is where we spiral a joint, spiral a bone in a joint. So I'm just trying to see if I can make this quite soft. Okay, now the challenge, keep one leg on the floor, is to do this little circle, keep it soft, and without my pelvis moving. So can I circle the ball in the socket, reverse, without my pelvis moving with it? Okay, so really important that we can move the ball in the socket, but without moving our pelvis. Lovely. Okay, take the other leg. So just simple leg circles, and we can see hopefully why we want to do this. We want to create fluid in the joint, and what often happens is we get very sticky. So you can see my circle isn't super big. I'm not trying to make it where my muscles start to grip. Circle the other way. Just 4, keeping space in there, 3, and 2, and a 1. Lovely. Let's bring the feet together, arms out to the side. And I'm going to have the feet just a little bit so that I'm on my toes. And I'm going to roll over into my little side to side. And then I'm going to come back to center on my toes and over the other side. Notice how my legs stay together so that the pelvis is doing the movement. So if I come back to the sacrum, roll over onto my 1/2 of the pelvis, let the head spiral. And see what it feels like now with your heels down. So as I come to the middle, heels down, and then rolling over. So over to the side, nice little side to side. Now, what I want you to do is to open the legs a little bit further and let them be in a slightly split position. So now I have one leg rotating in, one leg rotating out. Okay, so they were kind of doing that before, but not to the same degree. Now you might feel some stretch kind of in the hips. Okay, so rotating, internal rotation. You can feel it's much stickier that way than that way. That side feels quite easy. So if you notice a sticky side, do 3 more that way. Okay, now bring those legs over to one side. And I can't drop my legs all the way. That's just because I've got some stickiness. Some of you might be able to do that. Now I'm going to circle the leg up, come to tabletop, go over the other way, see how my legs are apart, and then drop the leg there. Now my opposite shoulder is a little bit off the floor, so I'm not trying to shove that shoulder down. So I split the legs, roll the pelvis, drag the other leg. Drop the one leg, roll the pelvis, lower that leg. And again, you can see my shoulder comes off the ground. So circle the leg, roll, back onto my pelvis, have that moment in the middle, leg, pelvis, and then I drop that leg. So just kind of see, again, if you're sticky one way to the other. Leg, pelvis, leg. Oh, there's something definitely sticky in my little QL here. So I would want to get my little lacrosse ball later, kind of around that area. So just do one more, and roll. So hopefully we've done some nice spirals now through the legs. So let's go into our 3D bridge. So bringing your feet a little bit closer, taking your head block away. So we're going to roll the pelvis a little bit. And actually, I don't even like to roll the pelvis first. I like to feel my feet first. Then I roll the pelvis a little bit, then I send my legs forward. So feet, a little bit of 12, legs forward. Okay, so this is our sagittal plane, our frontal plane movement. Brush the sit bones up the back of the legs. Literally put your hands on your bum and guide them up. Lengthen your low back. Make sure you're not lifting your low back up, that it's kind of long and in line with your legs. Okay? And then roll the spine down. So nice traditional articulating bridge. Inhale, let the tail go down at the bottom. And then exhale, roll a little bit once the feet press. So I'm just always imagining this little slope from my knees, through the hips, through the belly. Remember, deep abdominals on. Then about here, I want to focus on my sit bones and my cheeks going out to the knees. Okay, so I'm really connecting here. This is where we should be feeling it. Still feel the heels and the big toe. Okay, so the big toe ball. Roll down, lengthening, feeling like the tail or the sacrum is going away from your head. Okay, one more here, and then we're going to add some 3D movement. So rolling feet into the ground, front of the hips lengthening, reaching away. Okay, now we're going to go very gently without dropping the bum into a side to side. So I'm letting the pelvis go right and left without dropping my bum. Okay? Keeping that lovely position so I can really feel one cheek and then the next. So the hips are level, they're not dropping. Okay? So it might be a very small side to side movement. Whoo! Feel that. And then roll back down. Okay? The second one is a little rotation. So this one will probably be easier, and we just need to make sure it's not super big. Okay, so I'm going to push into my right foot. This right hip goes a little bit higher. Then back to center. Push into the left foot. Good. Now I want to make sure this is happening in my hips, in my bum, and not in my back. So it's not a big shoving movement. Whoo! You can feel that, I think, from yesterday. So a few more. Yeah, so one hip is just a little bit higher. You can see my hands, okay? You can see my hands level, and then the one hand is higher. Okay, last one, and then release. So you should be feeling your lovely little glutes now. Okay, third one is kind of combining some movements together. So we're going to do a figure eight. So that's last time. Roll into your bridge, lengthen out. Make sure ribs aren't popping. That's your low back lifting. As soon as your ribs are lifting, you're not using your bum, okay? So we're going to imagine we've got two shovels on the end of our hips. So we're going to drop down the one side. Think of digging dirt from the floor out to the side and up. So we're doing a little figure eight. Drop, side, lift. Drop, side, lift. And I kind of come through that middle point, making sure that when I'm doing this, I keep a little bit of 12, okay? So it stays in my bum and it doesn't go in my back. Just do two more, little figure eights. drop, side lift, and release. Good, and then just hug one knee into your chest. Taking the leg a little bit over, and that might give you a little bit of a bum stretch. And then crossing the leg over the knee and bringing that leg up if you can. If it's too much, just keep it like that, crossed. And then hug the other side. And at the same time, open up this hip. Okay, so as you're hugging this leg, open up the other hip. Take it over to the side. Feel how that is. It's much different than my other side. And then cross the ankle over the knee. And I need to hold this leg a little bit because it feels like otherwise I grip a little bit too much into my hip. So I'm just going to hold that. And I'm quite active here. I don't want to be passive, so I'm kind of moving this leg forward more. I'm gently rotating the leg out that's crossed. Good. And then just have a little wiggle out. Okay, so this is where I'm going to use the ball just because I don't flex very well in my upper back. So we're going to work on our thoracic movement, okay, for 2 exercises. So we're going to, if you have the ball, I would recommend using it. If you don't have the ball, you'll still do these same patterns on the floor, okay? So get around your bottom shoulder brow line, interlace those hands behind the head. And what's nice about the ball is we can go a little bit into extension. But if you're on the floor, what I want you to think about is lengthening your spine along the mat and not just dropping your head down, okay? So we'll show this one and then I'll show on the floor. So I want to cup the head and start looking up a little bit, okay, if I'm on the ball. Take a breath in, and then I want to lengthen. If I'm going along the mat, I want to feel each of my vertebrae kind of making contact with the mat, spreading out the shoulders a little bit, and then laying my head on the ground. Okay, then the eyes are going to look down, the head is going to roll, and we're going to come back up. But I want you to feel like it's your upper back that moves you, okay? So from the first rib, we're thinking the breastbone going down, the ribs going behind you, okay? We're not just thinking of the head going forward. And then we lengthen along the ball and into a little bit of extension. Now make sure on the ball, you're not letting the low back start to lift. So keep going with that. So if you're on the floor, I'm trying to lengthen along the floor and not just try and drop my head down. So my head is the very last thing. Eyes roll, head rolls, and then I want to melt the breastbone down. And even just doing that is quite helpful. So I'm pushing my breastbone down and in to help me come up. And you can see I don't move very far. And then lengthen back down. Okay, so now with this one, we're going to go into rotation. So those of you on the ball can come up a little bit, and then I want you to rotate across, come back to center, rotate across. And on the floor, and you can actually keep your head down here, you can roll across your shoulder blades. Okay, so I'm kind of using my arm as a little anchor. If I'm on the ball, I'm going into a little lift of one shoulder blade. Now even just doing a few of those and I can really feel that. So one more on each side. Try not to overturn my head. Have a little breather. The last one is a little side bend. So I want to come up just a little bit, and then I want to reach my hand towards my calf. Back in. So this is what's nice with the ball, is I can use the ball a little bit to go into that side bend. Now on the floor, you actually don't need to come up. You could just do a little side bend here, change the hands, and come back. So you're really still working your upper back and supporting it to go side to side. One more on each. So I'm just doing a little side bend. Yeah? And release, and then come back over your ball or come back to the mat. Okay, so that should really work our mainly flexion, rotation, and side bend. But when we go over onto our front now, we're going to be working our extension. Okay? Again, if you want to have the ball, that's totally cool. If you are slightly more rounded in your upper back, then I would recommend the ball. If you're quite neutral in your upper back, then it doesn't matter. You can stay on the floor. Okay? So we're going to go into W position. So those of you on the ball will be starting in flexion and then almost coming to a neutral position. Okay? Those of us on the mat, we want to make sure all of you have the crease of your pelvis. Okay? So this part of your pelvis is on the mat. So kind of where your leg inserts into your hips, that's where we want to support yourself, okay? So we want that part of the pelvis on the mat. You might need to wiggle your legs down. And I want you to feel a little bit of your bottom ribs when we're doing this are slightly hugged up. So where our little xiphoid process is, where the ribs start to veer off to the side, that little section is going to be slightly lifted. So we're going to be in W. If you've got your ball, you're flexed over your ball. Take a nice little breath in. And then exhale, keeping that little crease of your pubic bone, your legs on the ground, keeping that little lift of your bottom ribs, you're going to peel out and up. And just listening to where your spine wants to go right now, not forcing it, and just watching that we're not doing so much in the neck. Okay, so we're really trying to focus the movement on the upper back. So the low back is staying stable, the back of the neck is staying long, and then we're really trying to move the midsection. Good, so we want to feel length. We don't really want to feel a back bend. We want to feel like we're going that way out. So I'm really feeling my abdominals stretching and supporting me here. And come down. Okay, so the ball is quite nice because it guides us a little bit into the movement, right? And it helps us to feel like we're kind of moving the ball forward as we come up. Make sure your lower belly doesn't drop to the floor. So I'm keeping my deep transverse muscles on. That bottom rib cage, the shoulder blades will gently come together and we're lengthening out. Lovely, so that's our one. Number two, we add rotation. So we want to come through that little dart position where we're going out like we're taking off a runway. And then I'm going to look my eyes around the room, slightly up to the corner of the back wall. And then come back and over your ball or down to the floor. So I want to go forward, keep that crease, keep those deep abdominals on that bottom rib. Okay, so as we turn, we don't want to drop the belly. I want to keep lengthening and look over that shoulder. Okay, I'll show you without the ball. So we go forward, lengthening, soft, and I'm letting my shoulders move on my back. Okay, so right now my left shoulder is kind of pulling back, my right shoulder is pulling forward, gently. So they're doing a little spiral on my back. I'm looking over. Now I definitely have more range going that way than I do the other way. You might even want to play a little bit with your hands. See how this feels, where the one hand is forward as I look over, and that actually feels quite nice. And then if I change the hands and look over that way. So see if that feels better to have the one arm slightly forward and the one arm back. That feels quite nice, okay, rather than having the two arms behind. And that encourages my rotation. Now I'm starting to change the hands more to here. Okay, so notice where my hand is going now. So now I'm pushing a little bit higher, if you can. okay? If it doesn't feel good, stay with the W. So I'm just pushing a little bit higher, okay? And then what I'd like you to do is to bring your hands here. So if you're on the ball, you're still here. And what I want you to do is little tiny rotations side to side. And if we can come up, looking up the wall in front of us, and then come down over the ball and into your flexion again. So if you're on the floor, we're in these grasshopper positions. I've still got that crease of my leg, I've still got my bottom ribs, and I'm lengthening, and then I'm kind of just gazing to the corner of my mat and slowly forward on the mat. And now I'm looking at my orange wall in front of me and up the bricks and maybe just to my clock, and then I'm going to come down all the way. Now you don't have to go all the way, okay? Guys, if it feels better just to do a little bit to here or to continue doing the little rotations, that's absolutely fine. Just do that one more time if you're going into the full, and it starts to work your arms, okay? So don't be afraid that actually you're going to be working your back of the arms quite a lot here. Lift the belly, make sure we're not sagging into the shoulders, and then come all the way down. Okay, we got one more. So we're going to take the hands. I would remove the ball for this. Actually, let me just see. No, that's fine. You can keep the ball if you've got it. So if you've still got that rounded posture, I would definitely stay here. So what we're going to do is just hover a little bit off the ground. Now those of you on the ball just need to find neutral. Those of you on the floor, you really don't want to go very high, because if you start going high, you end up pulling into the low back, okay? So you want those little bottom ribs to be lifted. I'm just going to hover a tiny, tiny, tiny fraction. And even that is really challenging for me. And then I'm going to go into my little side bend. So I'm skimming across the floor, and I'm just angling over to one side of the mat and over to the other side of the mat. Okay, so if you're on the ball, you're just going to be going side to side. Woo! That's quite good, actually. One more to each. Keeping length. And then release. Oh! And shell stretch back. Now in the shell stretch, just take it into a little side shell. Opening up the one side of the body. And over the other way. And come up to sitting. Nice one. So we're going to go into a little roll down sequence. Okay, so we're going to be sitting up. And what I would suggest, if you have something that you can prop yourself up with, I'm just thinking, I've got a little bolster, just a minute. So I've got a little bit of height here. Now what that does is, when we're in this position, if you are very tight in your hip, so if I was here with my legs like that, all I can feel is that I've got a real tightness in the front of my hip, okay? You could even do this on a chair that doesn't have a back on it, or on your coffee table, if it's sturdy enough. Yeah, even if you have just a little stool that you can sit on, all you really need to be able to do is to roll your pelvis back a little bit, okay? You also have the choice, if you're absolutely fine in your hips and this feels good, then just stay on the floor, okay? Just wanted to give you that option, because I know for me, when I sit on the floor, what I'd love right now is a reformer to hang my legs over, okay? That would be my ideal. Okay, but I'm just going to go here because my hips feel a little bit better when I'm slightly elevated. Okay? So we're going to go down into a little half roll back, and then we're going to do all our little sequences. Okay, so arms out in front. Get your feet in the right position that you can roll the pelvis back into 12.
and then back up. So we're going to do 2 of each. Roll, let the sitting bones roll underneath you, and I want to let go of tension in my hips. Okay, if I hold tension in my hips, I'm going to pull into my back. So I really want to let go of the tension now. Okay, then we go into a little rotation. So I roll back, and I'm going to kind of slide my elbow back. Inhale, back up. Exhale, roll back, rotate. Good, and the last one, we're going to come up to here. So the hands are at the forehead. I'm going to turn, and I'm going to lean and reach to the corner of the mat, or the corner of where you're sitting. Rotate, lean, and tap. And then back up, and back to center. Okay? Happy? So those are your 3. Now, you also have the option to go all the way down to the floor. Okay, so let's go. 2 of these little rollbacks. Trying to get my sacrum to the floor. Little rotation. And up. Trying to let go of tension in my hips. To the head, rotate. So I have a neutral spine there. Rotate, lean, that was hard. Back to center. And if you can, roll the way down. Roll back up. Don't worry if you can, just stay with that half roll back. And up. Sweep. And up. Sweep. And up. Here, rotate, lean, and we go as far as we feel we can, and then back up. Rotate and lean, 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 lean. I'm not so good at that one. And release. Whew. Now, I feel like my hips need a good stretching out after that. So keeping on the theme of 3D, let's go into our 3D lunge stretch. Okay? So come up to your upright kneeling, put your pillow underneath your knee if you need it. Tilt the pelvis up, drag the front heel, reach the arms up. Let you guys get into position, some of you are still getting there. So tilt the pelvis up to 12, drag the front heel, float the arms up, let's not have over elevation. Okay, so we don't want tension. Remember when the arms go up, they're not actually going up, they're rotating, yeah? And then we can come around that way. So let's do an arm circle. Let's do a circumduction of our arms while we're here, which we didn't do on the floor. I missed that one. I wanted to do a little arm circle. Maybe we'll do that when we come back down. So up and around. Good. Okay, now this time come up. Let's go genie arms. Still keep the tilt up of the pelvis. And now rotate to one side. Try not to turn your hips. See if you can just rotate your upper body. So this way is a little bit easier. Kind of connected to your inner thighs a little bit. As if you've got a little wall that you're pushing against. And the other way, don't move the hips. Okay, one more time to each side, rotate. I'm still keeping that lift of the pelvis, still keeping 12, so I can still feel the stretch here. Okay, last one, we either come to the head or arms over top, lift a little bit more, and now I'm going to side bend. Okay, so I'm opening up this right side of my body, trying not to hitch this hip up. So if you can see on my little pink line here, that I'm keeping level. Okay, I'm trying not to crunch over to the left. I'm trying to lift on my right. That was a little bit better, that one. And then release. Let's change legs. Ooh. Okay, so starting to the front. Tilt the pelvis. I've got the back foot like this. You don't have to, but I find it gives me a little bit more anchor to be able to tilt the hips up. Okay? So reaching the arms first straight ahead, lifting the belly, tilt the pelvis up, drag that front heel. So I'm pulling this heel backwards towards my body. And then back down. You can release a little bit. Tilt the pelvis up. Lift the body. And release. Okay, let's add our little arm circles. So circumduct. And when we do arm circles, I think a lot of people go like way behind here. So I want you guys to think of your shoulder blades on your back. Okay, so they're moving the arms. The shoulders elevate a little bit, and then the shoulder blades kind of do this when your arms turn. So that's what I want you guys to feel when you do those arm circles. So you're not going behind yourself. Yeah, actually the more the arms go behind your head, the less the shoulders are on your back, and they're in kind of a hyper-extended position. Okay, then come to genie arms. Now you can see actually my pelvis, as I was looking at myself, was kind of like this. So I want to make sure my hips are level here. Okay, and that might feel slightly weird. Tilt the pelvis up, now rotate. And the other way without the pelvis turning. So see how much the upper body can move. I'm kind of really planting this leg into the floor. So it's almost like it's going down and behind me. And I'm really dragging my front foot. One more on each, because we don't want any turn in the knee. Okay, and if that does feel a bit knee, then just stay with the pattern that feels good. So last one, lifting up the left side, whichever side you're on. Lift, so I keep looking at my little line of my shirt, and I can see that this side wants to keep lifting up. So I'm trying not to do that. Good, one more time. So I'm lifting this outer side and release. Good, so we're gonna do some side lying legs that kind of go into this little circumduction. Okay, so really get the right comfy position for you. So whether that's here, or whether you just want to prop pillows and have your arm out in front. So get really comfy there. Okay, move my apparatus. So we're going to start with flexion extension like we did on our back. So I want you to press into the bottom leg, float the top leg up, and I really want you to understand that your leg inserts here, not here. Okay, so the leg inserts in the groin. So when you're moving your leg forward and back, this is where the movement is, kind of right in the crease of your leg. So I want you to feel that that's where the movement is being initiated, and your pelvis is staying really neutral. So in order for my leg to go back, I need to slightly press into this leg and kind of drive it forward. I need my hand on the floor a little bit, and I need a little bit of 12. So that's what brings my leg behind without my pelvis moving. So a little bit of 12. So pubic bone to navel as my leg goes behind. And a little bit of really feeling that crease. Okay, so now let's extend it so we get more of a kick. I still want to feel the movement here. So I want you to flex the foot and point. And flex, movement here, not in your spine. So just keep checking your pelvis is not moving. Your lower back is not moving. Let's do 2 more. And back. 1 more. And back. Okay, now we're going to do a little funky internal rotation. So I'm going to kind of tap my knee kind of down, but my foot is more up. And then I'm going to circle the leg in the hip and tap my toe behind so my knee is up. So I'm going to float in the air, trying not to move my pelvis. And then my knee goes down, my feet are up. Okay, so that's internal rotation. And then external rotation, my toe taps behind. And I really want to make sure the movement is in my hip crease. Okay, so if it doesn't tap right in front, that's fine. Even if it's tapping on the other leg, that's cool. And then rotate. No movement in the pelvis. Internal and external. Okay, there's a very big temptation for the pelvis to want to go back here, but I'm not going to let it. If you need to hold onto your
pelvic half, starting to feel my bum now. One more. And back. And then I'm going to extend the leg. Last movement, drop the leg down. So I'm kind of letting the outer leg just stretch a little bit, but not letting my pelvis stretch. Scoop the leg out and go as high as you feel you can before you feel the movement in your pelvis. So if you start feeling that, you've gone too far. And lower down. Float the leg out, abduct. Now at the same time, I'm still thinking of the movement here in my leg crease. I'm not thinking about lifting it from the outer leg. I'm thinking of almost releasing underneath. Okay, 2 more. This should be really working in your bums now, everyone. 1 more, and let's finish with the little tiny circles. 2, 3, without moving the pelvis. 4, 5, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I barely did that last one. My butt is very much on fire. So we should feel all of those fibers working in all of those positions that we've done. Okay, so that's, if we did that correctly, that's all the movements of the hip. Flexion, extension, abduction, internal, external rotation, and circumduction. Did you get that all? There's a test at the end. What are the movements of the hip? Okay, so let's take it. I just want to have time to do a little finisher. Okay, so press into the bottom leg, get yourself comfy, floating the top leg up, and again, feel where that crease is, where your leg meets the pelvis. You decide how far forward this bottom leg. So we start with flexion extension, and we've got to really focus in on the pelvis, especially when the leg goes behind. Okay, that's where I need a little bit of 12. Okay, so I can open up that front of the hip, get the leg behind. I don't want to have any movement in my low back pelvis. Okay, so actually putting my hand on the back of my pelvis is quite helpful. Okay, because then I can feel if my tail kind of starts whipping backwards. Okay, so 1 more in this bent position so you can see where you are, and then we're going to kick it. Point the foot as it goes back. Use this leg as an anchor. Inhale, keep the sacrum long, keep the belly on. Inhale and exhale, point. And you might be feeling your bottom side leg working as well to stabilize, okay? Especially after we've done the ones we've done. 1 more. I think we did a few extras there. Okay, let it rest. This one's kind of a breather. I can still feel my other side buzzing, so I don't know if anyone else is feeling that. Okay, so knee in, foot up, leg out. I don't like to think about my knee. I really want you guys to think of the ball in the socket, okay? How it's turning. So if I'm kind of doing that with the arm, that's, yeah, the rotation in. So I'm spiraling the leg, spiraling it out. So it's not just knee tapping down, knee going to the sky. It's not like a clam where sometimes that's what ends up happening, okay? So knee rotating down, but it's coming from my femur doing the work. Whoo, can feel that. 1 more. This one's my weaker side. So I don't know if I'm going to make it all the way to the end without resting. Okay, so let the leg fall, but not the pelvis. Yeah, I'm kind of looking that these are level. So float as high as you can go before the pelvis moves. So about there for me. And down. And float it out. Keep space here. Okay, so I'm thinking of it coming kind of from underneath the leg rather than picking it up from the outside. Pressing into the bottom leg. Okay, we got 1 more, and then we're going to try and do those circles. We just have 5 each direction. 5, 4. In that grease. 2, 1. Oh, I'm barely going to make it. 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh. And then give it a nice little slap. So even I find those hard. Okay. So we're going to see if we can quickly squeeze one more thing in. Oh, my butt. So you might want to do a little side to side. Okay, so from our quadruped, we're going to try and go into a multi-planar movement. Okay, so we're going to kind of do rotation with a side bend.
going into our star. So what I want you to do is get length, make sure you're not hyperextended, you're nice and neutral. You're gonna lean your weight over to the right. You're gonna slide your leg back. Now I'm rotating my trunk like I did at the beginning. So it might be helpful to rotate your ribs around here. Then I'm gonna lift my arm and go into a little side bend. Then if I can, I'm gonna come into a little star and then begin to rotate my trunk back. See if I can control the leg back in. Come back, make sure you're nice and neutral. I'm gonna go over to the left. Now we've really worked those bums, so they might be tired. I'm gonna go all the way around. I'm gonna rotate my trunk. I might need to change my leg orientation, okay? So my foot comes around. I'm gonna come right to the side, side bend over. See if I can come back up into a little star, and then come back to the mat. Let's do one more. So over to the right. I like the leg going back first. It just gives me a little bit of an anchor. Rotate the trunk. Make sure that first finger is on the floor and you're not hyperextending. So if you keep that first finger pressed down, you should stop the hyperextension. Into the side bend. Lift into the star. Notice how my head came up a little bit. Rotate back. See if you can rotate that upper body. And then return the leg. Last one. I'm sure you're all doing very beautifully here. So I rotate the trunk first. Okay? So I'm not relying on my arm in the air to help me. Side bend over. Back up to the star. Take that picture. And then back to center. And shell to finish. And then just roll yourself up nicely to the top. And thank you for joining us in this lovely little 3D workout.